Give me a sense, I mean, this is such a disturbing discovery. Give us a sense of how it came about and what's been the reaction so far.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me. This is something that's sort of been known by Indigenous communities across the country for quite some time. And we had a major reveal in a couple of years ago at the Kamloops Indian Band. And I think that really, really shocked the nation. And it's been more of time for us to think about what does that actually mean? And so people are in that same mode where we understand that it's going on. There is a lot of tiredness, I think, by people because we knew this was coming. And again, the people here are unprepared to actually remediate and to move those issues forward. Even in this instance, we have the ground penetrating radar. We're able to locate what potentially might be, as they're calling, anomalies within the ground. But there are no resources to actually follow that up. And so we're having people start and stop all over the country. And we have very limited resources to actually do anything with it.
So what needs to happen?
Well, I think there needs to be a really strong commitment from the government and from the churches to try to help to find these children and to help to bring them home to their resting places or however people want to move forward with them. It's really hard for people to imagine that these children went to school one day and never came home and they've never found them. We know that they're there. The challenge is we don't know where they are specifically. And also because of the level of poor health in those times, some students were actually put into hospital situations, and so they're not logged within the residential school system. And so they're not necessarily counted in these numbers. And so it's an issue that we knew would happen as Indigenous leadership, and it's something that as yet has to be addressed.
And it's worth noting that it's not just Canada. These types of institutions were also here in the United States, I believe 37 states. What differences are you finding in how both of these countries deal with this painful chapter in their history?
I think what I found with the initial discovery here within Canada is this absolute horror from people across the country, from people around the world, quite frankly. People that were really, really devastated by the fact that this could happen. And the horror of it eventually becomes so much that they need to move on to something different. And because there's no resolution for mainstream Canadians or other people around the world to think that something like this could happen. And so we kind of get left behind, and then we'll find something else like this is bringing it back to the spotlight again, even though those numbers were actually revealed 2 years ago. And so those are the real challenges, is how do we get some independent people who have some skills in this area that are able to come in and help us not only find these lost children, but also to help figure out how are we going to actually bring them home and give them proper burials and proper resting places and allow their families to finally grieve and have some idea of what actually happened to them.
Yeah, it's an important story. We're going to stay on top of it. Karen Joseph, thanks so much for your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.